Hi, welcome to The Pursuit of Truth. It is the 6th of July 2018, and I just want to bring you this Sky News thing about the novichok. You know, that just in case you thought I was making up when I said that they initially thought it was heroin and overdose or crack cocaine overdose, and how, if you see the picture that they show, someone with their mobile captured a video clip of, I think, the guy being taken into the ambulance with two normal ambulance people, and one of them's dressed in like a white, it's not a hazmat suit, it's, you know, because it's not big and bulky, but it's a thin protective suit with a face mask, you know, like the ones that you see Japanese people wearing when they're out in the street to protect them from the smog. You know, probably wouldn't actually protect them for very much. The other thing to note is that isn't a nerve agent, isn't it? Isn't novichok supposed to like kill you? Isn't that the whole purpose of it? But people keep surviving of it. How is that possible? It's not a very good nerve agent then, is it? If that's what they're using it for. And now, obviously, now they're saying that it's exactly the same batch as the one that was used against the Skripals, and that it's probably the same, you know, container. I mean, I don't know, to me this seems like they're just trying to bring up that March story. And anyway, you can hear what they have to say. It's Gillian Joseph at Sky News.
Two people remain critically ill in the hospital behind me. That's after apparently handling an object contaminated with the deadly substance novichok. Police are yet to find that item. Authorities are working on the theory that the nerve agent came from the same batch used against Sergei and Yulia Skripal in March. Our West of England correspondent Rebecca Williams has this report.
The search for novichok in Salisbury was supposed to be over. But 4 months since Sergei and Yulia Skripal were attacked, police have now refused to rule out more people falling ill. 5 new locations have been closed as counter-terrorism officers try to find out where and how Dawn Sturgis and Charlie Rowley, who are still in a critical condition in hospital, came into contact with the nerve agent. At a community meeting last night, police tried to offer reassurance that this time all of the substance would be found.
It's worrying that we have 2 members of our community who are gravely ill, and of course we need to respond to that, hence why you are now seeing another 5 sites that are controlled down so we can follow that same process, which is fundamentally about protecting and reassuring the public. I hope that we're not back in this position in 4 months' time.
But for many local residents, it's simply not enough.
I think they're telling us as little as what they need to, but it's not enough to curb the fears of people, I don't think. You know, we're living in a very, very strange society at the minute with terrorism taking lots of different ways, and I think this actually is the worst case of terrorism this country has probably ever seen.
The day before they collapsed, Charlie Rowley and Dawn Sturgis were seen on CCTV buying alcohol in a local shop. When they were found unconscious, police initially thought that they'd taken illegal drugs. But they now know that their collapse was caused by novichok and are investigating whether they came into contact with a contaminated container that was discarded back in March. But the Russian scientist who helped invent novichok says the chemical used in the Skripal attack couldn't have survived until now and would have decomposed.
Why? Because impossible. In 3 months, in this very humidity area, as in England, after that, in 3 months, after many rainings, it's fresh attack with using fresh examples of novichok.
Nobody imagined that this could happen again. Back in March, people were told that there was a low risk to the public. But what we're seeing in Wiltshire now seems all too familiar. Rebecca Williams, Sky News in Salisbury.
Well, let's take you to Amesbury now, where Adele Robinson is outside the house where the couple were found. Adele, it must be extremely worrying for those in the surrounding areas, particularly the neighbours. Do we know what they're being told?
Well, they're being told what we're being told, and that's why the police and the other agencies who are involved in this huge investigation are keen to keep them informed through us, through press conferences. Although they did stress yesterday that members of the public were free to go up to police officers who were on each of these scenes that have been cordoned off and ask them questions. So you would hope that those police officers have been briefed. But speaking to people here, some people are quite blasé about the whole thing. Others, I would say there is this underlying sense of unease, because you couldn't have imagined that Wiltshire Police would be dealing with their second major incident just a few months and miles apart, involving novichok, the military-grade nerve agents. As Rebecca said there in her report, it would appear that their main working theory is that the couple handled this a contaminated item that potentially had been discarded, and that could have been an item such as a syringe or a vial that was used to transport the nerve agent, and potentially that could be linked to the Skripal case. The police, though, say that they are keeping an open mind, and they say it's important not to speculate. They are, however, saying that they're fairly confident that they have identified all the places that the couple visited in the hours before.
It's not a good idea to speculate, whereas this whole thing is a speculation. You heard the chemist who invented the novichok saying that it would have been possible for it to still be active 4 months after the event due to weather and stuff. And yet, despite him saying that, they're still talking about it. But you hear it all, like I pointed out before when I played on this Sky News things, how many times they use things like maybe, possibly, theory. So it's funny that when there was a Russian guy who said something about yesterday that, it's something about, like, it's probably something like putting it at the British's door that they're doing it. And the article, I think it was on BBC News, sort of said, but they offered up no evidence. And yet, wait a minute, journalists and the police always do this. They're always talking about things without evidence. They just use possibly and maybe in between theory and stuff like that, just so that they can say whatever they want. So all that we're being fed here is there's no evidence to back it up. So it could actually all be false, all the things they're saying, but they're still saying them and people are still sucking them all up so they can become fearful. I mean, they don't even know what it is. How can they have a theory? Well, obviously they can have a theory, isn't it? But it's just, this theory doesn't make sense when their own chemist denies its possibility. And are they now going to, it'd be interesting, are they going to change their theory now that they've heard this? There's a bit more. This is with the constable.
Important not to speculate. They are, however, say.
I think that's almost definite. So they'll look at something. Is this it? I don't know. So they're going to have to treat everything they find with great care, and then they're going to have to swab everything.
It's an impossible task, though, because if they don't know what they're looking for,
no.
How do they know when they stumble across it?
It is. They're just going to have to take everything out of that park, and you can imagine the amount of stuff that's under the bushes and down the back of the benches and all the rest of it in a public park. It's, I've done it a million times in connection with murders, looking for knives or looking for items that are not a danger. They're there, they're going to be evidence. But looking for something that could kill you if you touch it is just, as you say, it's an impossible task, really. And I can totally understand how the community in Salisbury are concerned, and they're saying the police are not telling us anything. Well, the police haven't got anything to tell them in detail. What they can tell them is, well, we think there's a connection with that park. We've cordoned the park off, so you're not going to go there. Elsewhere, what advice can you give other than if you find something that you don't know anything about, just abandoned under a bush or in a skip or whatever, don't go fiddling about with it. And if there's anything to suggest that it might be connected, then call the police's attention to it.
Yeah, good advice. Please, at the moment, thank you very much. That advice there from Peter Kirkham. For people in the locality, if they do see anything suspicious, please do not touch it. Contact.
Wow. And this is one of the guys investigating it. He didn't come across very well, did he? The police don't know anything. And that's the thing, it's interesting how the police have been told, you know, that they can talk to members of the public. What do you mean, talk to members of the public? They're their police. Why wouldn't they be able to do that in the first place? You should be out to a policeman and ask them what's going on. They should inform you just as much as the media. Wow. Right. It's so funny, isn't it? What we've given away and what we accept. We accept just being ignored, and they're telling information through the police, and we're watching on television, and you could be living right in the midst of that when they tell you, oh yeah, don't worry about things, don't worry about things, we know how that's been, Grenfell, 9/11, etc. Anyway, take care, take it easy, God bless you, please.